Basically, what we have the precepts for is as a simple way to remember.
In Buddhism, meditation has a place in everyday life. It is the start and conclusion of our activity.
If you are a frequent meditator, it would take quite a little time.
They give me happy, but that is no happy as we thinking.
Sawadika, hello and welcome to another edition of Meditation for All, a show which will leave you feeling spiritually centered and uplifted. I am Sananpon Rodjan, your host for today. Coming up on today's show, we will be joining Venerable Nicholas Thanissaro on a Buddhist concept course which talks about a pattern describing the law of karma as basically getting back from the world, the sorts of behavior which you exhibit towards the world. Venerable Somsak Piyasilo will be guiding us through our meditation as usual. We have another edition of Buddhist Culture, and lastly, Joe will be speaking to Margaret, a participant of the Middle Way retreat held in Chiang Mai, about her attainment of inner peace. Firstly, on Meditation for All, Venerable Nicholas Thanissaro will speak on the duty of the precepts, why keeping precepts is so useful. Having listened to the Venerable, we hope you have a clearer understanding of keeping the precepts as one of the 10 different ways in which you can accumulate merit.
I'd like to sit more comfortably, and hopefully you have the handout for the session 5 of the Buddhist Concepts course. For these 3 lectures, in fact, there's a little bit of a pattern, having described the law of karma as basically getting back from the world, the sort of behaviors which you exhibit towards the world. Then there are 3 categories of practice which we find in Buddhism, which are doing the maximum of things which are good towards the world, trying to refrain from doing any sorts of bad things, while at the same time purifying the mind. Last time we looked at 10 different ways in which you can accumulate merit, which is positive karma. And actually we did mention keeping the precepts as one amongst the ways in which you can accumulate merit for yourself. But if you look at the duty of the precepts, in fact you can say that it's not just a way of getting merit, it's also a way of preventing yourself from getting exactly the opposite of merit. Sometimes we call this negative energy, which is equivalent to, but opposite to merit. We sometimes call it demerit, because it has many of the same characteristics that we mentioned yesterday for merit, but opposite. So in the same way that the more merit you collect up for yourself, the happier you feel, the purer your mind becomes, the more efficiently it works, the more good things you attract to yourself. In the same way, the more demerit which you collect up for yourself, the worse quality your mind becomes, the more inefficient your mind becomes, and the more unhappy and unfortunate events, things and people it attracts into your life as well. We don't say that merit and demerit are just two sides of the same coin, because in fact the way they work is like two different bank accounts. The good things which you manage to accumulate in your life go in the positive bank account, but instead of the negative things you accumulate reducing your balance in the positive bank account, in fact they go into a negative bank account. So I think it's worth saying from the beginning that in Buddhism we don't have this simple solution to bad things which we've done in our past simply to cover them up with good deeds. It's not like sins which can be absolved by doing certain sorts of penance, because we know that any form of action which you do has to have some sort of result. So if you have done some bad things in your past, then at some time in the future those have to come to fruition. We can't avoid that. But what we can hope is that by doing a maximum of good deeds, that it's always the good deeds that are going to give their results first. If you want to get rid of the bad things from your past, it's not that it's hopeless in Buddhism, but we have the principle known as a dilution effect. For example, if you have a cup of water, cup of pure water, and you have a grain of salt in that, think you can taste the saltiness? Yeah? I think you could. In such a case, this would be the equivalent for a life of a person where they have a little bit of bad deeds in their past, the salt, and with the amount of good deeds they have, which is only a cupful of water, the taste of the bad deeds is still coming through. However, if you top up the water by pouring it into a bucket and filling up the bucket full of water, still 1 grain of salt in there, do you think you could still taste the saltiness? Well, if you had a good tongue, maybe you could, okay? Maybe it would still be detectable. In the same way, a person who does yet more good deeds, they dilute the effect of the bad deeds still further. The bad deeds are still there, waiting to give their results, and some of the taste may still come through. But if you were to pour your bucket of water with its grain of salt into a water tank the size you'd use for a small home, even though the grain of salt is still in there, but even if you were to taste the water, I think you'd find that it would not be detectable anymore. And this would be the equivalent of a person who knows that they have some bad deeds in their past, but tries to do the maximum of good deeds. It doesn't make the grain of salt go away, but it makes the relative effects of the grain of salt so small that it's almost as good as it not being there at all. So in Buddhism we don't have ceremonies for getting rid of our bad deeds from our past. That is a simplification for what can happen. But what we do recommend is that people do a maximum of good deeds. And in such a way, the relative proportion of bad things which we may have in our past becomes insignificant. Okay? So basically what we have the precepts for is as a simple way to remember to avoid doing certain sorts of bad behaviors which are particularly damaging. We know about the 5 precepts, and we know that although there are many things which are not positive, good things to do in life, not wholesome things to do, but if we can remember these 5, then it covers more or less all of the important ones. What I think maybe it's useful to expand on a little bit is exactly why keeping the precepts is useful. Because you may have heard that the precepts are not like commandments. Can you remember how we said they're different from commandments? What happens if you break a commandment? Yes, sometimes damnation. So, if you have broken them at all, then that's the end for you, okay? But we call them not commandments, but rules of training. They are ideals to which we try to train ourselves until we can keep them perfectly. They are things to train ourselves towards. And really, you could say that any form of rule is something which helps you to learn about yourself. If you're a monk, you have more rules to keep than a lay person. So does this mean that keeping rules is a good thing? Well, it must mean that you have to concentrate harder. For example, if you are a normal layperson in your everyday life, normally you try to keep 5 precepts. It's a basic minimum. If you go on a meditation retreat and you're trying to train yourself to have a higher quality of mind, usually try to keep 8 precepts. So there's more rules involved. If you're a monk, then you try to keep 227 precepts. To keep rules is something which is found in all spiritual traditions. And normally, rules help you to become more aware of what you're doing. So whether they are rules which are sensible or not, simply having rules makes you more aware of what you're doing. Some philosophers have even gone as far as to call it the rule of limitation. Once you draw the line about what behaviors are acceptable, then it helps you to make your life more meaningful, because you have to look more carefully at the things which you're doing. So part of the meaning of the rules which we have as rules of training is to increase our level of awareness, particularly in the things that we say and the things that we do. Some of the rules in themselves help to prevent us from doing things which may cause seriously bad karma. And they would come into the same category as wearing shoes of the wrong size. Because if you are to do certain sorts of behaviors, even by mistake, then they end up bringing suffering to you in the future. So what we mean by good and bad in Buddhism doesn't mean that there's a little invisible man somewhere who is making a decision about what you're doing, whether it's good or bad. It's not necessary for that. We talk merely in terms of the natural consequences of the actions. So what we are dealing with when we're talking about rules in Buddhism, or rules of training, it's not an artificial morality where someone has thought up a whole lot of rules which everyone obeys, but it is a process of observation of the effects when people don't keep such rules. And this is why the rules came into being. So it's not an artificial morality as you have in the laws of a country, for example, but it is a description of behaviors which, if you break the rules, then it has bad consequences for you. It's not that someone's going to come along and punish you for breaking a rule, but the rules themselves lead to harm coming to you in the future. So it's when you know this is going to happen in advance, then we try to keep to certain rules. The laws of different countries differ from place to place, right? In some states in America, a doctor might pronounce you dead, whereas if you cross the border into another state, you might still be alive. The laws can be as arbitrary as that. In some places, certain behaviors are outlawed, for example, gambling. In other countries, they are legal. So, artificial morality is normally not very reliable. And we can't use artificial laws to tell us clearly what is right and wrong. But with the system which we use of morality in Buddhism, we talk about actions in terms of the consequences they give. And it's because of those consequences that we have rules. So it's not someone like the Buddha sitting down and thinking up a whole set of rules, oh, let's have 227 for monks, but it has come about from a natural process, often of case histories happening where a monk did a certain sort of behavior and it was damaging to the community, and that's why a new rule was created. So normally if there was no problem, there would be no rule set up. But as we see with the 5 precepts, it has a history which is much longer than that, because it goes back to the primordial times when we were describing what happened in the Aganya Sutta. So what exactly constitutes keeping or breaking a precept? I don't know if you paused to give much thought to this, but in fact there are some guidelines to help us, because sometimes particular behaviors might leave us feeling guilty, or leave us feeling as if we have not been doing our best with the precepts, when in fact we needn't worry about them. To give an example of some borderline cases, if you imagine driving along in the car, so you're driving a car along the road, and suddenly out of nowhere, a dog leaps out in front of the car, and you don't have time to brake in time, and you run over the dog and it dies. Would that constitute breaking the first precept? No, I see a no, another no. Why not? Why? Because there was no intention involved. Okay? Yeah, that is a good reason. Why not? So this means that in order for a precept to be broken, there must be some form of intention involved. Correct? Okay, another example. Supposing you have a particular dislike of a certain dog, and the dog lives next door to you. All its life, it's been barking late at night, keeping you awake, and you feel that you've had enough of this. So you prepare your shotgun, and one day when you see it lying down just next to your garden fence, you take aim and you shoot it, and the bullet goes straight through its head. But what you didn't know was that earlier that morning, that dog had eaten some poisoned meat. And the fact it was lying down next to your fence wasn't that it was sleeping, but in fact it had already died from the poison it ate earlier that morning. So when you shot the dog, in fact it was already dead. Is that breaking the precepts or not? No. Breaking? Not breaking? It is breaking it. Shooting a dead dog.
In your own mind, would be breaking it because you still thought the animal was alive.
So it must mean that you have give a lot of importance to intentions. Well, in this case, turns out that it is not breaking the precept. Doesn't mean it's not bad. Doesn't mean that what's going through your mind is not aggressive, but it doesn't happen to be breaking the precept, because although you had the intention, but the dog wasn't alive, and you can't kill things which are already dead. Okay? Another example. You see What do you think is a dead dog lying at the side of the road? And you think in a very wholesome way, if this dog is left lying here, then before long it's going to smell bad. And just close by you see somewhere where people are burning leaves. So you pick up the dog by its tail and you throw it onto the pile of burning leaves. What you didn't know was that that dog was not dead. In fact, it had eaten something where it had passed out for 2 hours, and if it was left to itself, it would have woken up an hour later. But you threw it on the bonfire, and now instead of just looking dead, now it's really dead. Is this breaking the precept or not? Yes. Well, you had no intention to kill it. Huh? It is dead. But so was the dog you ran over. In this case, again, it's not breaking the precept. Why? Because you didn't intend to kill it. Furthermore, you didn't know it wasn't alive. You didn't know it was alive. One last example. The dog is really alive, okay? And it is lying asleep just by your garden fence, and you aim your shotgun, but because you're not very good with a shotgun, when you shoot the dog, you just shoot a few hairs off its ear, and you didn't actually miss, you missed the dog. All it missed was a few hairs from its ear. But you really intended that that dog should die. Is that breaking the precept or not? No. So a dog just gets a surprise, that's all. Well, these are examples designed to test your understanding of what we mean by the precepts. And in fact, even for the first precept of killing, there are 5 components which need to be fulfilled before you can say that it is truly breaking that precept. Firstly, the victim, like for example the dog in this case, must really be alive. If it's not alive, then you can't kill it, okay? Secondly, you must know it's alive. So for the bonfire example, you didn't know it was alive. Thirdly, you must have the intention to kill the victim. We have examples of things like a monk sitting down on a chair which is pushed up under a table, but what the monk didn't know was that there was a baby on the chair, and the baby got crushed to death. In such a case, the monk would not be guilty of murder. Fourthly, that there must be an effort made to kill the victim. Fourthly, the victim really must die. Okay? If you don't have all 5 of these components, then the precept is not broken. It doesn't mean that it's not bad. It doesn't mean that you are not earning any demerit for yourself, but it's what we would call soiling your precepts, or your precepts not being pure. But it's not as bad as breaking the precepts.
Next on Meditation for All is Buddhist culture. This week's show is titled The Grateful Flame.
The teachings of Lord Buddha enlighten the world. They show the true nature of the world, a profound and precise truth, the absolute truth from which none of us can flee. His sacred words bring understanding to all beings, easing the suffering in their lives. Lighting a candle reminds us of his teachings, words that lift our lives to heights where we can touch the light of eternity. Scholars call Buddhism, or the teachings of Lord Buddha, the light of Asia. Due to his words, Asian people can render their word replete with smiling faces. Their expansive love and generosity arise from concepts of giving, kindness, and compassion. And even buffeted by waves of imperialism, technology, and modernization, Asia retains its happiness and remains an impressive place to experience. Buddhism teaches people to see the world like an elder who understands the cyclic nature of existence. Buddhism teaches people to see the impermanence of life, that living beings exist day by day. And every day, with the sweetness or bitterness that accompanies every breath, life grows shorter, regardless of wealth or fame, irrespective of beauty or unpleasantness. Even in a world of technological prowess, many questions remain unanswered. People deserve real happiness, but they cannot discern its hiding place and the things that conceal and obscure the path to happiness. Even as their lives end, they still cannot find the way. The Lord Buddha said, "Be simple but contented. Real happiness resides inside us and begins when we stop the wandering mind. This is the starting point of true contentment. Let us cut and polish the mind into a flawless diamond. The inner light will refine the external factors. Then, step by step, life will be in tune from inside out." In Buddhism, meditation has a place in everyday life. It is the start and conclusion of our activities. It applies to any daily task, to all lifestyles. Meditation makes life balanced. Meditation helps us find an emotional counterweight to need and suffering. From inside out, Buddhists are led to the middle path, to stay with the inner stillness where the mind can find its natural resting place. There, happiness becomes possible, reasonable, and more deep-rooted. Life is fascinating, and happiness arises through peace and contentment of a still mind. During the 3 months of Buddhist Lent, Buddhists will pay their respects through the light of a special candle called Tien Pan Sa. The lit candle confirms that the teachings of the Lord Buddha provide light to brighten up their everyday lives. The Lord Buddha's words illuminate the path to a happy life. The teachings are the light that brightens their vision while making their missions easier. The flame of the candle is not only to remind people of the teachings of Lord Buddha, the ultimate truth. The candlelight also demonstrates their gratitude to the Blessed One, who turned the wheel of true happiness and made the pursuit of the truth possible. Life becomes more precious with the inner light present, and the inner light helps us pursue our lives with love, kindness, and generosity so that we avoid becoming the playthings of fate. The Tien Pan Sa flame thoroughly shines the Buddhist's grateful light. It is believed that the light ascends all the way to Nirvana, the supreme place of the Lord Buddha, and those showing their gratitude will be blessed by him. Gratitude is not only for the Blessed One, it is also for the monks who make Buddhism the living truth.
It is now time to meditate, so I would like all of you to join Venerable Somsak Silo in sitting comfortably and focusing your mind at the center of your body.
It is another nice occasion that we meet again. Welcome everyone to the moment of inner peace. Last time we mentioned a lot about the inner light, the light of serenity, and this time we would go further for it. If you are a frequent meditator, it would take quite a little time, a short time for you to recall the inner light. But if you are a newcomer, don't worry, just follow my words of guidance. We will go into the meditation emotion period together. Alright, if you are ready, you look for a comfortable corner for yourself. You can sit on the floor with the support of a cushion, a pillow. You can sit on a chair or on a cushion, wherever you feel best. Follow your feeling that you feel best. And then remind yourself of the turning point by taking a good deep breath. Notice the flow of your in-breath. It goes past the lungs, down to the center, in the middle of the abdomen. This is where your inner light begins. Now remember the moon in the mind. By the click of the thought, a gentle click, just think about the shining moon in the center of the body. Righto, you get it. It's shining inside your center. Then gently close the eyes. Allow the feeling of brightness expand from inside. Of course, the inner light must start from inside. At the very turning point, the very center of the body. This is the origin of bright inner light. And let the stream of brightness expand from the center until brightness covers all over the body. Let relaxation expand also from inside. Like we are flooded by the stream, by the wave of relaxation all around. Let inner light, inner brightness shine through the whole body. But the origin of the bright light is always in the inner station of peace at the center of the body. Enjoy the calmness and peacefulness derived from the inner light. Remember the moon, the inner moon in the mind we enjoyed together since last time. The moon is shining in the mind. And then we place a diamond, a piece of bright diamond onto the center of the inner moon. Allow the diamond shine brighter and brighter onto the bright moon. We can call this the bright on the light. The bright diamond is shining in the middle of the bright moon. The bright on the light happens inside the center of the body. If you are the newcomer, just imagine with your soft imagination, there is a moon floating inside the abdomen. We can call this the station of peace. In the center of that round moon, there is a diamond brighter than the moon placed onto the center. By the way we perceive, we look at it, we call this the bright on the light. Enjoy the bright on the light for a little longer in quietness together. Let's take a good deep breath again to confirm the existence of the bright moon at the turning point. Allow the bright diamond shine so bright on the light. During Buddhist Lent period, the rainy season, it is the time where candles of the temples all around the Kingdom of Thailand, the candles will be on flame always. Let that kind of flame of peace shine through the whole body of ours. Let's relax even further for a better contentment. Let's relax even more for a brighter environment inside. If you are a regular meditator, you have reached the advanced stage where we can click the light at any time we want. Just by a little click, we can stay with the brightness inside at any time. But for a newcomer, just imagine we reach the image of the bright moon. Just imagine and we get it. This is also another easy process for newcomer. Then you can notice the plain bright moon. It gives a kind of feeling. And then the moon with the diamond inside, that gives another better feeling. The plain moon without the diamond, and the full moon with the diamond in the middle, each one gives different feeling, and you can tell by yourself. By observing the feeling, the happiness derived from the moon with or without the bright diamond, you see the difference. Allow the mind to enjoy the cruise along the road of peace, filled with bright light always. By now, there is no such thing as darkness when we close the eyes. We don't see the outside, but the inside is so bright all the time. Enjoy this for a while in quietness. The tiny star or diamond, the tiny diamond or bright dot of the star inside is a real connection from the world outside to the wonderful world inside. This is a connection that is unbelievable. Every time we get connected to this point, we are really overwhelmed by contentment. Anyway, sometimes the moon can be bright, sometimes it is soft. Do not force or try to frame the brightness of the moon. Instead of framing or forcing, we allow the moon in the mind to be free, to shine with freedom of expansion. No frame, no force at all. Sometimes the star, the bright diamond, is here. Sometimes it is out somewhere. She keeps coming, she keeps going. Just welcome it back with love. Recall the existence of the bright star, the bright diamond, with love and compassion. Soon she will come back to the center, the middle of the bright moon again. So we are now overwhelmed by the feeling of relaxation, the feeling of brightness that glorifies our inner beings. Enjoy it. Remember to share this kind of bright light by radiating the sphere of brightness to all directions. Expand the sphere of brightness from the bright diamond outwards. The sphere of brightness grows bigger and bigger all the time. This is an endless process. Let it be. If we are ready, ladies and gentlemen, this is another success in your meditation. You are ready. Confirm the existence of the bright moon. We take a good deep breath again to confirm the existence of the moon and the diamond. This is the axis of the mind. Stay there and gently open up. How is your meditation? I'm sure you enjoy inner peace more or less, and hope you keep practicing meditation, because everything we do in the peaceful process here, we do for the sake of our own life. We don't do this for others, but we do for ourselves. Until we meet again, a week is not far away, and hope you practice meditation every day. Until we meet again. สวัสดี
Next on Meditation for All, Joe will be speaking to Margaret from Belgium. At the age of early 60, Margaret is still energetic and contributes most of her time to taking care of the sick people in need of care. Apart from the blissful joy that she receives from her social work, Margaret loves the meditation retreat in Chiang Mai and the unsurpassable joy from inner peace that she would love to share with us.
สวัสดีครับ My name is Jinda Limsakun. Welcome to the interview session. Today I will take you to have a conversation with one of our participants in the meditation retreat program, which is called the Middle Way. Okay. สวัสดีครับ
Savadika.
How are you today?
I am happy today. I am very, very happy.
Can you tell us your name and your where you're from?
Yes. I am Margareta. I am born in Poland, in Warsaw, but 27 years I live in Belgium, in Antwerpen.
Okay, and how did you find out about this program?
This address here gave my monk
Yes.
in Belgium. Is very big temple in Sint-Jobgor that is 25 kilometers from Antwerpen. I close my eyes
Yes.
and I say to me, now is done with my brain. Stop. I want rest.
Yes.
But before I ask the master, help me please. And then I close my eyes and I concentration first here and then slowly, slowly in my heart.
Yes.
And then slowly
The
in my
center.
mouth, in my stomach. And then I make my leg. There's no organ, nothing.
Everything in your body empty.
No, only my body.
Only your
And
body.
in is nothing. No stomach, no nothing. And I doing with my hand, I touch the ball.
Yes.
Left, right, I touch really. I not see, but I feel.
Okay.
I cannot see, I feel.
Yes.
Sometimes it's very clean, very little, some very small. Sometimes it is big.
Yes.
Same time I feel under my feel.
Yes.
The als ballon, you know?
Blowing.
they make my stomach so big. Yes.
Yes.
And they give me happy, but that is no happy as we thinking happy. There's inside happy. There's another.
Yes. So you mean like everyone can join? And
Yes.
doesn't matter
yes.
you are Muslim, Christian.
All religions, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Baptist, Jehovah, all religion can here learn the technique because the technique is so simple.
So how would you talk to the people at home about this program?
I want from my heart because I am here so happy that before I was never so happy. And thus I come to Belgium and I want to start with courses and a workshop
Yes.
with 5 organizations. That's a very, very big Reiki organization, spiritual organization. They do meditation too, but another technique.
Yes.
But because I found personally this technique the best
Yes.
to today. And via workshop and excite,
Yes.
same as I have here,
Yes.
I want show to the people.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And say to the another people from Germany, Netherlands, England, Belgium, I want show which simple and good technique here is for
Yes.
meditation.
This is very
Yes.
easy
Yes.
to learn
yes,
and
yes,
to actually practice.
Yes.
Right.
Because the practice is so easy, and they make people happy. Here is the just place in the world for the really the best technique for to learn middle way meditation with crystal ball. I feel so.
Okay. After,
Not here in my heart, in.
Okay. And after this retreat, and what's your plan?
After the retreat, I go, I hope, I go to big temple in Bangkok.
Oh, you want to see the Dhammakaya temple in Thailand?
Yes, Dhammakaya. Because I can the temple in Belgium.
Yes.
I want to see here, same. And I want to talk with the monk
Yes.
over my experience here.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to. And after I go to India for 1 month. And then in January I come to Belgium because I want quickly.
Yes.
I want quickly show the people who is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Because I am very happy here. Thank you.
It is no surprise to know that when people are happy, they want others to feel the same. If the middle way meditation method can bring Margaret that much happiness, perhaps you would like to consider giving it a try. Just call and contact the program at 6681-626-0049. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. Until then, remember to keep your mind centered at all times. สวัสดีค่ะ